quickly, speak about the president's nomination. He's picked his nomination forms to contest on the NDC's ticket, but he does that after some officers of the party have unfortunately been sacked, 2 of them, for issuing a dummy of that registration form, a nomination form to George Boateng. Kweku, what do you make of the posture of the NDC leadership in general, as if they may be saying, yes, we're a democratic entity, anybody can come and contest the president, yet they say nobody should contemplate that in another breath?
Well, I've heard some suggest that, and so there's that little confusion there, but that's not too sure is the focus of this whole thing. Look, the democratic space, and I said this last Thursday, I would want to repeat myself, has enough room for eccentricity and comic relief, even tragic comedy. It has, it's so big out there, and all of us are in there. I have to be very honest with you, and may the gentleman forgive me. It is his right to seek to contest the president. In my candid opinion, to be a mismatch, clear, even though I'm not very good at electoral analysis, predicting outcome of results. But this will be completely a mismatch. And that's why perhaps people should not have been unduly worried about him. He doesn't have any potential to rock the boat. But the quality...
You're being nice about it, saying it's just a mismatch.
Big mismatch, big time. But the things the gentleman say, and I'm not talking here about the we, the exploitation of we, because there's an implied legalization of cultivation before you can do exploitation.
But he's not said anything new as far as that is concerned.
Fantastic, you read my mind. So the executive secretary of NACOP asked for advocated legalization of marijuana. His was restrictive to smoking here. Okay? The third Republican Parliament, I've read it here before. Members of Parliament advocated it, including Nana Akua-Sapon, okay, who today is a guru in terms of the NDC politics, and is also a paramount chief. Am I right? Yeah. And some other members of Parliament. Our brother Hansard here. And it's a global debate anyway, going on elsewhere. But, so that's not the point. But even if that was outrageous, the cure is not to describe the guy as brain sick or to ask that he should be sent to the psychiatric hospital for treatment. So the overkill of the reaction, for me, is unwarranted and needless, because the guy is not a competition. He is not competitive. Look, apart from that, there are certain things he has said that for me, I wonder, and I hear NDC big men and communicators ridiculing him and things. I say, look, what's the difference between some of the things this gentleman is saying and what Madame Ekuya-Donkor says? Somebody come forward and tell me the difference. And yet, she is praised, okay, and lauded. And so the hypocrisy, the double standard is clear. But beyond that...
But the guy sounds more intelligent than Ekuya-Donkor.
Well, that's a value judgment you've made. For me, they are almost the same.
That's my judgment.
Of course, and I won't dispute that.
I'm entitled to it.
Why? He's entitled to that.
It's a value judgment.
I put them within the same category.
I've listened to the two.
How do you measure that?
Please, that's my judgment. You may disagree, but
Fair,
I listened to the two.
And
I say the guy sounds more intelligent than Ekuya-Donkor.
And in Ghanaian political history, we have many such examples, but it's not fair. None of them have spoken. Some are even dead. I'm not about to go and resurrect history in this sense. But you see, the key thing is this. The disciplinary actions that have been taken. I don't know. Fortunately, our park is here. Those people who have been sanctioned, they are party employees or party staff. Are they party members? I don't know. They may be. They could be hybrid. They could, because I'm told he's been there for 20 years, the accountant especially. For all you know, he's still a party member. But he's been disciplined in terms of his status as a staff of the Secretariat for doing something that was not sanctioned. I am unable to say that what the party leadership is saying is not true. I'm unable to say so. because apparently they have guidelines, they have procedures. Now, if indeed, and the if here is the operative word, the gentleman or the gentleman violated standing orders, party guidelines, then being sanctioned is automatic.
Right. Now,
You may, no, let me finish. You may say, you may talk about the gravity, whether dismissal is good enough, somebody who's worked 20 years. In any case, I suspect they have their conditions of service and things. So he may be entitled to all sorts of things. But let's not beat about the bush. If somebody violates a party procedure that has been outlined as a basis for doing something, and the person is sanctioned, for me, it's not a big deal. If it turns out that the gentleman had no business issuing the card at the form to this gentleman, and they are being sanctioned, I don't see the big deal there. That's my candid opinion.
Interesting. But yeah, does it matter if this was unintended, was not deliberate? Because I am asking myself, will those guys do this deliberately, knowing that it could attract them, you know, this sanction? And what do they stand to gain by doing it and doing it deliberately?
Yes, to answer your question, I heard Mr. Kuku Anidoho yesterday, and he was also asking the question. He was wondering what had come over those people. Those were words that he used almost close to it. And so they were also wondering.
But he added that the guy is non-compos mentis.
Yes, and that is what I'm going into. I mean, I will look at the fact that, or the claim that the whole procedure and even the document given to the gentleman is a nullity.
Okay.
Because according to them, they were laid down procedures, whether by convention or practice, known to the two gentlemen. In fact, Mr. Anidoho said that he would not blame Mr. George Boateng at all, but then those who gave it to him. So then I say that, well, those people, for all intents and purposes, acted as agents or representatives of the party. And their acts, if I understand the law well, should be the acts of their principals. And I, the outsider, that is, if the gentleman can be described as an outsider or a person who is not an integral part of the management, goes to deal with these people in the office, in the capacity in which I can deal with them. They have taken monies prescribed for the delivery to me of the document. How should you then turn around to say that they had no capacity to deal with me? Then we are also being told that the document that was given to the gentleman was just a draft, because it lacked the compliance with certain procedure, seal, and the initializing of the pages by the General Secretary. For me, it is same as a person dealing with a company in good faith. I cannot be the one to go investigating whether a company has capacity to deal with me through its agents or persons that have been published.
So the party's action is right. They ought to be dealing with their officers. That's what you're saying.
Yes, but I'm saying that should not void he should not suffer.
Yes, he's been asked that he could go and pick a new form.
Well, but that also with an interesting caveat, which was swiftly issued, that number one, they do not believe that he is a person who qualifies, because today, as you use the word, he is not compos mentis, or he is an insane person, or appears to be an insane person.
I was simply repeating Kokwaido. He used the Latin.
Okay. Well, so for the purposes of my friends at Tema Station, let me also say, some say he's a madman.
Some of us see as well.
And that is surprising. A person who, it is admitted, at least so I hear, is a youth organizer of the party. If that person is not compos mentis, and yet he has been allowed, or he has been elected by the people who know him, let's not also forget that merely declaring, even by a certified person, that a person is insane does not necessarily mean that his acts, he cannot be responsible for his act at certain times. The question we ask is, as people are talking, the things he says, one, if he was compos mentee, has it deprived him of the ability to know the nature of the work he intends to do and also the consequences of his actions?
Be candid to me. Look me in the eye and tell me that when you listen to the gentleman and assess him, he's worthy of the office of the President of Ghana?
Well, I'm not sure that he is disqualified on the basis of insanity, number one, unless he has committed any of the offenses, unless he's disqualified under Article 94 and together with 62 of the Constitution. And I am not in the capacity now to say exactly that he is disqualified. Then, for me...
My question is, would you want George Boateng for your president?
Why not? I mean, if he is presented before the people and the people, majority of Ghanaians vote for him, why not? I mean, to be frank with you, number one...
would vote for him. Because he has no choice if the man is voted for.
No, but in the first place, I will be given options. Without those other options, now then we will just have only two people, him and Anado. I'm expecting other options. Okay. And I will evaluate the options from 4 or 5 people, and I will take a firm decision on which of them is capable of acting as a trustee for me.
Typical lawyer's attitude. You never get them to answer your question.
Wow. But just quickly on the issue of the weed thing that he said, is there really a law against narcotics? It is engaging in such a business without a license. And if he says that the state should permit people or license people to do so, and to license people or the state itself to export it, I don't think that he has said anything that is strange.
Okay. Thank you very much. But you and I have also discussed this here that even though the law says that you cannot use or deal with it without license, we know that there's nowhere to go and get a license. That's the lacuna in the law. Now, Doc,
somehow, sure you want me to comment on this?
Yes. Somehow,
I think my response will be
somehow this is becoming an unavoidable issue to discuss. Where, for example, we are raising the president going to pick his nomination form, and yet you can't discuss it without talking about George and the manner he's been treated by the party's members. But Mr. Babin says he is just in there for comic relief. Koko Ayidoho says he's insane, uses the Latin non-compos mentis. Johnson Esiedun Ketia, who is the General Secretary, says that he needs psychiatric help.
Well, Samson, first of all, I want to say that the leadership of the NDC must be commended in how they have handled this matter. Whilst, as a citizen, Mr. Boateng has every right to present himself to the people, he must do that within the context of rules and regulations and bylaws. Now, I cannot authenticate his claim that he's the youth organizer of our Oyarefa branch. No, but I cannot confirm that.
Since it's not been disputed,
yes, the point I'm making is that I cannot confirm that, I can't disprove that. But the point to make is that these assessments that have been made by different persons in our party have been largely predicated on his own attitude and his pronouncements. Quite clearly, and if we are to be honest with ourselves, if you have monitored his pronouncements and the way he has postured himself in the media, it is very difficult not to agree with my senior colleagues who have drawn those conclusions.
You agree he's mad?
Well, just like you thought that he was, quote unquote, more intelligent.
I haven't said he's mad.
Than Ikwedonkor.
I didn't say
I also have the right to pass my value judgment.
Okay, go ahead.
And I say so because of what has been documented.
That's a madman who was in charge of your branch office
I've said that,
and still in charge.
I've said that that has not been confirmed. And that is why
it's not
when the General Secretary and the party's leadership talk about following due processes and procedure, I believe part of that reason is to be able to cross-check and mark all of the set out criteria. First of all, I mean, as somebody who has picked a form to contest the Busa South primaries on behalf of on the ticket of the NDC, there are processes. I have to be cross-checked and authenticated. Simply because I go and say I'm a member of the NDC and that, I'm supporting the party. That is the point. And that is why when the General Secretary talks about the need to authenticate even the forms and to ensure that every page on it is initialed, and that it is properly embossed, and that the officer who has now been relieved of his responsibility did not have the right, or it wasn't part of his responsibility to discharge such a responsibility. They are all very important, because that is how you cross-check to ensure that people presenting themselves, claiming to be part of your own, and even seeking to represent your party as flag bearer, indeed do qualify. And all of these processes have not been undertaken. And I think that is why it is very sad.
Would these guys have been sacked or disciplined in the manner that they've been dealt with if, for example, they had issued the nomination form to Spio Gabra, who, if he was interested and went to pick the forms?
It is not about George Boathing or Spio Gabra or the president. It is about processes and procedure. There is a code of conduct. People hold office by virtue of the need for them to dispense certain services. The officers culpable in this case who were dismissed did not have that mandate. And certainly, the right thing to do would be to take the needed action. But speaking about Mr. George Boathing and all of that,
you don't think a reprimand would have been sufficient punishment for them?
If you want to understand the NDC, you must understand that discipline is a very important component of its functionality. There are rules to be followed, and nobody is above the rules.
Okay.
And action taken swiftly, as the saying goes, a stitch in time saves what?
It saves 9.
That is it. So as far as we are concerned, the right thing is being done. I mean, look, I've said severally, and I think that Kwekubaku has confirmed that, but of course, I'm a bit extreme, largely because where I work, and I work for the president, I know his capacity, I know his ability, I know what he's doing. I have no doubt that he's going to be the candidate, and he is going to win 2016. Then he has said, and I've said it severally, President Mahama is not averse to competition, but anyone who makes the attempt to challenge him is not only going to fail, but will fail miserably.
The NDC feels embarrassed that George Boathing came up to pick forms and he's been making all the claims around, right?
No, I don't think it's an embarrassment. I really think that he is publicly embarrassing himself. It has nothing to do with the party and government. But if you monitor his pronouncements and how he has posted, the kinds of things that he has uttered. I mean, and then you have the likes of Dr. Ba calling him a serious candidate. But in any case, I want to reserve my comments. I don't want to go
a very
too far
serious
with
guy
this issue.
and should not be subjected to what
he's
currently going through.
It cannot be possible
and
that this is a serious candidate or a potential.
Finally,
it is not possible.
Finally, the Deputy General Secretary says that he could go and pick forms again, and he will be allowed.
The right way.
Do you really feel that he will be entertained after all the comments that we have heard made about him by Johnson Esiedu Nketia, who is the one supposed to issue that,
Look. We are practicing in democracy. And, I know who made the right statement. If he follows the proper procedure, if all the checks that need to be done to certify his ability to even present himself on the ticket of the party as a potential flag bearer can be authenticated, why not? And as I said, the leader of our party certainly is not averse to internal competition.
Right.
But everybody knows that
I don't know
this
how
is
you
purely
find
comic
this very last statement corroborating what Anyidoho and others have said, that he could come and pick the forms and he'll be allowed. The NDC says a madman should come and take forms to be president on the ticket of the NPP and of the NDC. That's what they are saying.
Exactly. And this is just one example of very extraordinary and difficult statements being made by the NDC. And I don't know how they would fare when you subject them to logic. You have described the man as mad, and then you say he should come and pick forms. It's difficult to understand. My friend Dr. Apaktu makes some statements that are difficult to understand. When you talk about Ifya Donko and the George Boathing, he was asking you how you could make that value judgment. But then he goes ahead to make the value judgment that Mr. George Boathing, who is seeking the flag bearer of his party, is mad. He is questioning your ability, Samson, to make a value judgment on Ifya Donko and George Boathing. But he goes ahead to make a value judgment that the gentleman is mad. And then you also said,
but I didn't say he was
and then
mad.
you also said the man is not serious.
That is it. That man.
Now,
who I
if you
said.
question Samson's ability to make that value judgment, why are you also making the same value?
Well,
judgment?
Samson is supposed to be neutral. I'm not supposed to.
Now, he also
This
made
neutral
the
thing, I don't really get it. You see, let me tell you one thing. When I sit on this show, and for example, we are discussing something that has to do with a law that I know, and I know what the law says plainly, I will say it. That doesn't make me non-neutral. So,
fair.
yeah, thank you.
But even beyond the neutrality, any of us who sit on this panel, who is supposed to be objective,
Right.
okay, including you there, yes. So,
you objective.
please, you may decide that I am not objective, but that is your decision. As far as I'm concerned, I'm being objective. So for you to tell us that you are not neutral, you are compromising your objectivity by your own statements. Now, you also make the extraordinary claim that the NPP is pursuing this cross-border call for voter new register because we want to show unity. I mean, Jesus wept. How can you come to that? The party wants to show unity, and that is the reason.
Created it to bring your, feuding factions together, for the
So
public gallery.
the NPP wants to bring the feuding factions together, and the way to do it was to bring them together and make a request for a new voters register.
And
That's the way.
big. That looks so domineering.
Please,
so we forget to challenge.
when you're speaking, I'm sitting next to
When
you.
you direct your questions to him directly, I am unable to intervene.
So please, these
But I'll
claims are
restrain myself.
extraordinary. You can't understand where they are coming from. Ascribing motives. So can anybody also ascribe a motive to the NDC and say to the NDC that you are objecting to a new voters register because you know that this register is cooked for you? Can anybody ascribe that motive to you? But you are here ascribing motives to somebody else. You see, this George Boatin flag presidential, you can't understand what the NDC is doing. You have opened nominations. You have invited people to come. You set the date. One of your members go to pick up the forms in the prescribed period. He's issued the forms. He pays the fees that are required to be paid. Then we heard that, no, he didn't have the forms. Then the man comes out to say, I went to pick the forms with even media people.
Right.
Then they say, oh, the form that he picked is a draft. It's not a genuine one. And that the person who gave him the form is not authorized. So if the person is not authorized, how come the person had the forms and gave it to the gentleman and accepted
point
payment?
you mentioned there, in the initial reaction by the NDC was that he didn't have the forms.
Yes, he said he didn't have the forms.
Then he showed us what he had, and we put it out in the public. And then they changed and came to say, he's got it, but what he has is a dummy.
It's a draft. And then they said the person who gave it to him is not authorized. But the person had a draft, and the person didn't know it was a draft. And the person had been working there for 20 years, and he couldn't know the difference between a draft and an original form. You can't understand. You can't believe what these people are doing. And then...
No, what's your suspicion about that? Are you suggesting, for example, that because George Boatin was giving the form and to get him out of the way, then they then decided to change how the form should look like or what?
It's a possibility. I haven't even addressed my mind to it.
Goodness.
Yes, but it's a possibility. Now, then, when the man shows that I have the form, I have paid the fees, these are my receipts and so on, and then he makes pronouncements as to how he wants to take the NDC, they say, oh, he's mad. I mean, how can you make the claim that somebody who is going to contest for your flag bearership is not of sound mind? And then he also claims that, well, it's actually the General Secretary who is mad, who is receiving psychiatric treatment. And then other members of the National Executive, the Deputy General Secretary weighs in and say, oh, we can't allow anybody. We are going to go to the 2016 election on the record of John Mahama, the president, so we can't allow anybody. The first vice, Fuswampof, also comes in and say we can't allow anybody. The General Secretary says the man is mad. So right from the beginning, there's a clear motive to deny anybody from contesting John Mahama. And why they would want to do that, like Kweku said, I don't understand it. If you believe that John Mahama is invincible, like Dr. Apak is asking us to believe, that the rest of the country, you are asking us that you have to vote for him in 2016 and he's such a good performing president. Why are you afraid of him coming under competition in your own party?
Interesting.
You can't face that. Now, my last point.
Right.
The George Boatin gentleman, he's claiming that the reason why he is going to contest is that John Mahama has failed and that the administration is riddled with corruption, that the administration is incompetent, and that the NDC is going to lose if they present John Mahama, and that he is coming in to save the NDC from loss.
And
These are the way.
And that he will nominate Nana Kunedu as a running mate.
Oh, did he say Kunedu or?
I thought he said Nanado.
He didn't say Nanado.
No, in some of the media,
He said
Nanado.
Kunedu. He said Nana Kunedu.
As for your thinking,
He
this
said Nana
morning.
Kunedu.
Please give him some coffee.
So you may understand why some of them describe it in the manner they do. Nana Kunedu is not in the NDC. Nana Kunedu has a party. Is the
Samson.
NDP.
Yes, Samson. I mean, this is a man who wants unity. We know the status of Nana Kunedu Ajima Rawlings when you talk about NDC. He's gone away. She's gone away because of differences. If you have a candidate who says, I'm going to bring Kunedu back into the party, what is wrong with it?
Okay.
But just a quick one. I don't think there is any law that states that a person is bound to choose his running mate from a political party. He can choose, he may come from the NDC, but he may choose any. Please.
It's not a serious talk.
All right.
Why we trying
We'll take
so
a
hard
quick
to
break
help
here.
this man to that
We'll
house?
take a quick break here. We'll be right back.
Let's not help him out of this guy.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile and some of your messages. This one coming from Washington. He's sending this from Wasa One, or is it Wasa One Trump? Says the trip embarked upon by the NDC can only be described as a propaganda charade intended to sway the attention of Ghanaians. Which trip are you talking about? Or you mean the gentleman who is speaking to the media from Togo is a trip by the NDC? Okay, let's move on then. There is also this message from Ibrahim Kopa in Tamale. Says the NDC is gradually shifting the goalpost with respect to the voters register. Initially, they refused the claim made by Dr. Barima. Now they are confusing themselves. God save Ghana. Emmanuel Ableta says that in Ho, says Professor Lumumba said it all. He has hit the nail right on the head. Primitive accumulation, tokenism, corrupt tendencies, inferiority complex, and abject greed for wealth and the major factors militating against good governance in Africa and Ghana in particular. What is NDC's apprehension and their vehement objection to a new voters register after evidence has been provided that the current Ghanaian voters register is bloated? The answer lies in Professor Lumumba's statement. Musa in Kumasi says that, interestingly, NPP has extended their desperation to the international level. Maintain the integrity of the voters register is what we stand for. What did 1992 Constitution say about dual citizenship? Why is Dr. Barima and the NPP turning it upside down to suit their political agenda? It's better they focus on unity of the party than dwelling on this titanic mission. Prince Chum in Obuasi says the NPP has presented a case to the EC that they have found people both in the Ghana and Togo register. Those people could be Ghanaians who vote in Togo and could also be Togolese who vote in Ghana. They could also be people who hold dual citizenship. Samson, it's up to the EC to investigate what those are, whether those are Ghanaians or Togolese or they hold dual citizenship or not. That's simple. Bonti Benjamin says nothing can destroy the trust and confidence the Ghanaian people have in the Akufo-Addo Bawumia ticket. The NPP shall rise and build a new Ghana that will transform the lives of the people in 2017 and beyond as a ruling government. Change we need. Hashtag. J. Shadrach Koforidia says Dr. Barima had it all right. If the Ghanaians in Togo can tell us they have dual citizenship, I stand to be corrected. This issue cannot be left without a solution. The EC must be something, must do something before it is too late.